Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it comes from a translation, and the translation reads like this. Hello, my brother, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My brother, my story, it goes on like this. I am a woman who has suffered a lot because I am seeing the ghost of my late, I can say that my husband, because we used to stayed with each other for a very long time, even though we were never legally married, but we were staying together as husband and wife. So what happened between me and this guy was that when I fell in love with him, it was not like I wanted to become his wife, but it was because there was one of my friend who said that it is a good thing for you to have someone, to have a man, whereby if you have any challenges that you are facing in your life, you will know that at least I have a man who can take care of me. So I was working on a certain farm. Then this man, he was working on another farm. That is how we ended up meeting. After we had met each other, that was when we decided that we had to stay together. We then started staying together, my brother. And when we were staying together, that was when his bosses said that they wanted to move out of South Africa. They wanted to go to another country that is overseas. So after they had moved, then they gave that man that I was staying with, they gave him a lot of stuff, like almost everything that was in their home. They gave it to him. At that time, we used to stay in a small one-room house. And when they had given him all of these things, that was when we decided that it was far much better for us to rent an entire RDP because of the stuff. It was just too much. And even though we were now renting an entire RDP, the things that they had given this man that I was staying with, the property was just too much. So my friend then told me that all of these things that we had, it was a wiser decision for us to take them back to Zim, just in case if anything was going to happen to us. I then spoke with him and I told him this thing that my friend had told me, and he said that it was a good idea. But the problem was that back home, this man, he had last went to Zim a very long time ago. I can say that when he had came here to South Africa, he had never returned back to Zim again. So he didn't have any idea of what Zim was like now. So my friend then said that it was a far much better decision for me to actually return back to Zim with all the things that his bosses had given him. And my friend suggested that it is far much better that I take these things back to the place where I grew up in, at my own, in the village where my relatives were staying. And the reason why she said that this was a wiser decision, it was because she said that now that you are staying with this man, what happens if you fall pregnant and all of this property that his boss gave him is at his place, and what will happen if anything happens to him? His relatives will never allow you like to come and take all of this property. So as a wise woman, what you are supposed to do is that you need to take all of these properties and go and leave them with your own people. This was a wise decision that this woman had given me. So I spoke with that man that I was staying with, and I told him that since we were planning to buy our own residential stand, it was a wise decision that I take all of this property and I can go and I leave them at my own village, since I had already built my own 3-roomed house there in the village, so that these things can be kept safe. He agreed, and after we had found the money, that was when I then went back to Zim. Some of the stuff we would put it on the trucks, then some of it I would go with the properties using the malaichas. And when I arrived back home, my own relatives, they started using all of this property that I had brought from South Africa as they wanted. Like my brother, he started taking some tools. When he started taking these tools, some of it he would return it, but most of the stuff he would never return it. and there was this other welding machine. He started using that welding machine as well as some tools that this man had been given by his boss, until all of those tools started disappearing. This happened when I was back in South Africa. When I returned back, I then found out that even the sofas, the couches that my man that I was staying with had been given by his boss, they were really damaged because they were leather. So my kids and my relatives, they never cared about them. They never maintained them. They would do whatever that they wanted. When someone was eating, the person will just place a plate of food on top of the couch, that leather couch that was really expensive. Water was being spilled on top of that leather couch, and by the time that I returned back home, I saw that everything was just broken down. Spanners were missing, tools were missing, and there was no one who could account for everything that I had returned from South Africa with. When I looked at this situation, I then saw that this man, if I was going to tell him that this is what happened, he was not going to understand. That was when I came up with a plan of dumping this man whilst there was time. And this man, what he had done as well is that he had spoken with my little sister who is there in Zim. I don't know what was their agreement, but what they did is that this man that I was staying with, there was one time when he had gone to Musina. When he had traveled to Musina without my knowledge, he ended up buying these other roof metallic sheets that they use for roofing, and he then sent them to my little sister, and he said that he wanted to use them by the time that we would have bought our own space to build our own house in the village. But what my sister did is that she took all of those metallic roof sheetings and she then used them to renovate her own house. And all of these things I could not tell this man that I was staying with. After that, I then found an opportunity and I started fighting with him a lot so that we can break up, and we finally broke up. After we had broken up, this man, whenever he would try to reason with me, I would make sure that I would never give him an opportunity, because I knew that his property that I had taken back home was no longer there. So I made sure that he would never have that chance. Then my brother, this man, what he started doing is that he started surviving on alcohol. He would drink the traditional beer each and every day. He stopped going to work. He was just a mess. He then started staying with this other woman whom we knew to be an career. He then started staying with this other woman. This woman had been sick for a very long time, and he then started staying with that woman. Within a short period of time, this man, he got so sick that everyone who was from Zim, who was staying in this community, they then decided that it was a better idea that we raise some money so that he can be taken back to Zim. But they wanted him to go to the hospital first, and they said that since you are his wife, you used to stay with him, is it not a good idea for you to go with him to the hospital? But I didn't want to be close to him just in case if he was going to die, since I knew that I was owing him a lot of stuff that he had given me when I had gone to Zim. So I stayed as far as possible. Even by the time that he passed away, my brother, I made sure that I was never there. I never went to attend his funeral back in Zim. I stayed as far as possible. After that, my brother, life continued. What then started happening is that my kids back home, they started giving me some reports that were quite strange. My kids told me that they would regularly see someone, a shadow that would be sitting on those leather couches, and I thought that maybe it was the kids that were just seeing things that were not for real, until my little sister told me that one day when she had gone to my place, so usually whenever she would be at my place, she would sleep in my bedroom, and she then said that there was a night whereby she felt so thirsty and she then went out of the bedroom. She then went to the kitchen so that she can fetch some water, but before she could get into the living room, she then saw that this man was actually sitting on that leather couches. Man, when he is seen all the time sitting on those couches, he is is always wearing a black jacket. So I knew that this was the truth, because when this man was still here in South Africa, he had this other black jacket that he loved to wear almost each and every time he would be wearing that black jacket. So the problems that started happening to me, my brother, is that I then started to notice, like, when I would go to bed, what will happen is that I would wake up and I would find myself naked. Someone would have actually removed like my underwear, and this thing, I thought that maybe it was just something that was strange that was happening to me. So what I started doing is that I would take, those ladies' tights, the short one, and I would wear my underwear, then a tight on top of that. Then I would wear some of those leggings. And to my surprise, when I would wake up, my brother, the tight and the leggings will be there, but my underwear, it will be just dropped by the side of the bed. This thing has been causing a lot of stress in my life, and I do not know what to do anymore. It seems as if this man, he is coming back so as to sleep with me. I am really confused about what to do about this thing. I don't know what to do anymore, because all of the properties that I took from this man, thinking that I was really clever, all of those properties, they are damaged. So I don't know if I should approach his relatives, and I am scared that if I approach his relatives and if I tell them this story, then they would want me to repay them. With the job that I am having, I won't be able to repay them. And sometimes I feel like it is a better decision for me to return back to my country. But when I think about my kids, the moment that I stop working, then who is going to take care of my kids? So I do not know what to do anymore. I have come here on your platform. I am looking for anyone who can assist me. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our sisters, and that one was just a narration, and it was a breakdown of that story that she sent to me. Strange things do happen in this world.